Than 10 in the morning. Give me a break, will you? Now, of course, Babylon 5 was a science fiction franchise most distinguished because it never had me on. If you remember, I was brought into Stargate Atlantis, season 5, just in time to kill the show. In fact, they call me the franchise killer. Add Robert Picardo to the cast, and then you're off the air the next year. Which is probably just as well why Babylon 5 never had me on, because they had a good, long, healthy run. A couple of our panelists haven't shown up yet, but I'm sure they'll filter in shortly. But first, I'd like to introduce two friends of mine, Jason Carter and Marshall Teague, from the cast of Babylon 5. Now, while you guys settle in, I'm going to put on an APB on Tracy and Walter, okay, and get them in here. Oh, there they are. Walter, forgive me. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. He's sitting in the front row. All right. I'm so embarrassed.
Oh no, we're a chair short. Oh, thank goodness for that. Please, make yourself comfortable.
Oh, thank you. I'm being welcomed to Texas, my home state, by an Englishman.
In the English language, if anyone knows their history, they'll know how that happened. I have to help Americans because they forget how it started. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Thank you. I'm Marshall Teague.
Yay! Woo! Woo!
He's Marshall Teague.
And this is Jason Carter. Ranger Marcus. Mine's loud. Or maybe it's me. Okay.
Oh, scary people. Perverts.
How many Babylon 5 people do we have here that enjoyed the show?
How many Babylon 5 people who didn't enjoy the show?
What questions would you have?
Your microphone's.
Voice, is that loud enough? It's more than one moving part.
I got the boomstick.
Is that all right? I have no idea. Is it working?
Marshall.
My voice can carry. Not necessary.
Or you can have mine. Old cheerleaders never die. We just moved to Hollywood.
What characters did you like the best, guys?
All the ones that aren't here. No. Come on.
You mean forever?
I heard you were leaving us. Are you leaving us?
You mean I'm expiring?
No.
I want his hat.
He's
Thanks for the photo. Well,
Yes.
Do you prefer to play Chekhov or Vesper? And which was more fun about Vesper or Vesper?
Well, I did prefer to play Bester. Bester was great deal more fun. I'm most grateful for Star Trek, obviously. I wouldn't be here or anywhere else probably if it wasn't for Star Trek. But Babylon 5 was the dessert. You know, it was did all the meat and potatoes with Star Trek, and then I had the dessert with Babylon 5?
My first day on this set with a scene with Walter, because I think most of you know I'm a uber geek and can lip sync all the TOS series episodes. And the first day I met Walter, I practiced to try to be normal. But instead I said, if the Telosians were so advanced, why were they unable to build Captain Christopher Pike in his original form? And Walter said, security.
Don't look at me.
No, I know you've got something. He's sitting over and said, yes, in the back of my head, I have got something for her. Please.
You're talking about my hand and that it was frozen? That was a choice that I made. It was an actor's choice.
Like in The Producer?
No, I did it because I knew I was going to have a lot of scenes with Jerry Doyle and Bruce Boxleitner. And they are both about 6'3", And I was trying to find a way that I could feel on a par with them, that I didn't have to feel intimidated by them physically. Well, let me finish. And I felt that if I had a disability like that, and I had overcome it, then I got to be a pretty strong guy in terms of my character and emotional health and so on, psychologically. So it gave me a sense of superiority. It gave me a sense of being in command. I know that sounds weird, but that's how I interpreted it.
It worked.
That's the idea.
Well, not really, but they...
Go ahead.
Were you satisfied with the way your character was removed from the series?
Satisfied? I don't know. Transferring one's life force, you don't really need a tissue, do you? But satisfied, yes, I was satisfied with the fact that even though I was a cliffhanger at the end of season 4 and stayed on the cliff forever, the arc and the archetype arc of Marcus was a really perfect arc. So actually, the completion was fine. And as was pointed out by Joe's interesting story that he wrote after the fact of Babylon 5, when I found out more revealed about the character of Marcus if he were woken up from cryogenic freeze. Have you read the story? Yes. Right. But what's the name of it? It's, anyway. Marcus was woken up from cryogenic freeze. Ivanova's dead. It's 300 years later. So he clones Ivanova. But, of course, he has to get put back into cryogenic freeze until she matures. And then takes her to Epsilon 3, gets the memory banks put into this clone of Ivanova, and then goes to a spaceship and crash lands on a empty planet and said, oh, look, here we are. It's an interesting line on Marcus. Who'd have thought Marcus would have actually become so dysfunctional? So obviously, cryogenic freeze really affects the psyche very badly. The good news about that is it absolutely confirms that Marcus never died. So if they ever want to up the franchise, they could start a new show called Marcus. Thank you. Anyway, that's enough from me. There's much more important people than me.
No. I want to play Neiman. Just kidding.
See, I get to sit next to my commander. Because we moved on, she was my commander. So, you get a chance, like you said, he had to go into cryogenic freeze. Narns lived for a very long time. So we just hang out.
Exactly.
Please.
Since Babylon 5 was planned out as a long arc, was there a different feel to working on that show than there was to being on a more episodic show where there's a big cliffhanger and, oh, we got renewed, let's come up with something new for next season?
Which person are you referring that question to?
Any of you?
Probably someone that was there for 5 years. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can mouth off about the fact that I'll just mouth off about the fact that actually Babylon 5 was kind of a departure from the normal way they do television series in America, in that it was a saga, in that A led to B, led to C, led to D, led to E, led to F. It was one of those, which also was problematic because it was a syndicated show, so if you didn't catch it in the right order, you had no idea what was going on. But that was a problem of, because it was a syndicated show, it's being peppered initially at the schedule by the television companies. Well, because they're used to Star Trek starts on the bridge, ends on the bridge, unless it's a 2-part special, in which case it may take 2 episodes to get back on the bridge. But that was the way, and you could pepper that to the schedule. You couldn't do that with Babylon 5. It was a soap in space.
Yes, sir.
At the end of the last episode of season 5, you folks, well, not Mr. Bester, but it looked like there was going to be a new cast for a whole new series. Did Straczynski actually write one, or was that just the way they shot it?
Well, there was the Crusade, which, you know, I think the nice way to put it is flopped. But the tears that you saw in that last episode, not the one they shot at the end of season 4, but the one that I was in, the makeup department was going nuts because everyone was just sobbing, and like we had makeup streaming down our face like Tammy Faye Baker. And they're like, what's wrong with these actors? They like each other.
A lot.
A lot. Yeah.
Actually, Joe wrote 7 or 8 episodes and filmed, I think, 5. And I was coming back on the new series, and my episode was number 7, and I had it memorized. I had it all memorized. But bless his heart, even though we didn't shoot it, they paid me as if I had shot it, so I thought that was very nice.
Walter, just so you know that in Texas, bless his heart precedes a real insult.
Welcome to Texas. Yes, sir. Every day. That's the best memory. The interesting thing about Andreas, when he came to work, and we both came to work at the same time, because the makeup, putting on the Narn makeup.
Was that 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning? What time did you start?
Well, it depends. The first episode we did of Babylon that was ever shot was called Infection. And I came in at 2:30 in the morning.
Whoa.
The makeup took 4.5 hours to put me in that suit. And at the end of the day, it took 2.5 hours to get out. So putting on a head for 2.5 hours, it was okay. You know, we came out, I thought we were getting a break. But we came in together, we sat down together, and it was always, good morning, Andreas, how are you? Marshall, how are you? The moment the eyes went in, it was Jakar and Talam. We never referred to each other at any point until the end of the day, other than Jakar and Talam. So that's how it didn't matter. They never came out, we never changed, we never came out of character, ever.
I have to back that up because I'm a human, so we came in later.
I can't help it.
I'm a human, and I never met Andreas for about a year. I only met Jakar, who would be sitting in a chair outside a trailer smoking. This great lizard character smoking. It was just extraordinary. He was always that, and it was surprising when actually.
I'd like to share something a little bit sweet about it. As you know, I was a huge fan before I was cast, and on the first day of shooting, I hadn't slept, and Peter Jurasek, who's very much of a gentleman, as all of you are, but there was no seat for me on the set in Sheridan's office, so Peter Jurasek got up and gave me and said, "Tracy, please, welcome, you are a new girl," and before I could get to the seat, Jakar slid into it. And I was just like, "Oh, hi." And he goes to me, "Hey, you're family now. I wouldn't get up for anyone else. I'm not getting up for you." No, that was taken over by the girl that slept with Bill Clinton.
What?
Or, that doesn't narrow it down much.
I was about to say,
Your experience with how they treated you on Highlander and how they treated you on
I was treated graciously and beautifully on both. Really, I mean, I know that's boring when it's a nice answer, but I was treated beautifully. The cast and the crew of Babylon 5 made me feel just uber welcome. The fans online made me cry on a daily basis because I was such a fan of the show. It's the only time I've ever had my feelings hurt truly by strangers. And
Explain that. Explain that.
well, because, and I understand it, because as a fan, I was like, I turn on my first episode and I'm like, wait a minute, who's this new oh, it's me, I gotta try to like her. And I understand it, and for me, and indulge me if you've heard me say this before, but for me, the Neil Gaiman episode, Day of the Dead, I think it's my favorite episode because it humanized Lockley, and I think it might have been a teeny bit of a turning point in both the station and fandom. If not loving her, at least accepting her and liking her, okay.
Can you talk more about being one of the first female captains on television?
Sure. I was very lucky because Janet Greek directed my first 2 episodes, or the first couple of episodes, and she's a very strong female director. So it helped a lot to have a female director who's been in the trenches, you know, in a man's world, helping me to find my command voice. Because there's a very fine line, as all of you guys know with women, between sounding commanding and sounding like, ah, who let the chickens out? Or why didn't you throw the trash out? And so Janet was very, very influential in helping me find a good command voice without sounding like something that rhymes with witch.
The great thing about that, when you work with Tracy, and she did have that commanding voice and presence, knowing that she was the commander was never an issue. She was the commander, and very proud to serve with her. So that's the way it works.
Thank you. I literally didn't go on the internet for a year because my feelings got hurt so bad.
People didn't accept you taking over.
Right. Because I was a fan. You know, I feel like the hair club guy. I'm not just the hair club owner, I'm also. But the Neil Gaiman episode, I felt, at least in my mind, and if I'm wrong, let me live with that delusion, it turned things around for me.
Gentleman right there.
Well, did you enjoy playing a semi-evil character for once instead of a happy-go-lucky type character from Star Trek?
Refer.
Do you feel you're not being paid attention to? I thought I already answered that. I said I like playing on Babylon 5 more than on Star Trek.
Right, not how much you liked it. More, did you enjoy playing a negative?
Well, I think I liked it because I got to play that kind of a character. Okay. It was a lot of fun. But you know, an evil character can be just as much a two-dimensional character as a heroic character. It can lack nuance and subtlety and all of that. It can be just somebody's out there. The wonderful thing about Bester was that there was a lot going on, and Joe kept adding things. Joe Straczynski kept adding things. So it made it a challenge, you know, to put it all together, to keep it all intact. One week you saw some compassion. Next week you saw something that was, you know, more militant and more hateful or whatever. And I had to find a way to make all these part of the same person. And of course, that's the secret of who we are. We're all like that. We're all, you know, the good guys and the bad guys, and the spiteful guys, and the you know, the heroic and the selfish guys, and all of that. That's what we all are. And that's what made it so much fun to play the role, because I had a chance to bring it all together, to bring it all together and to make him as close as I could to a real person. And that was my objective, and that's the fun I had.
I have to say, I'm sorry, Marshall. I just want to
no, you're
quickly
not. Go
say,
ahead.
because it's kind of on this line.
She's the commander.
No. But Walter, I don't know if you remember this, but one day on the set, my cat was in the vet's office, and you saw me crying, and you took a bullet for me. Walter went up to the director and he goes, "I got to take 5 minutes. I got to go to the bathroom." And you gave me a chance to gather myself, and I will never forget that.
But that was thus the family of Babylon 5. We all, for every one that had what they'd say an evil tendency, there was as much honor on the other side. And as you intermixed people, that's what kind of made it unique. We came together. I mean, you had different nations, different civilizations. We came together, and I played a samurai.
That's actually important to note when we talk about Babylon 5, about what was special about Babylon 5, is that what we had in space was a city. We had a city in space, like a great port. This was a great port that other planets, other nations had sailors coming into, and there was trade going on, and what was... Please turn that off, or I will kill you. The modern world, gotta love it. Right.
Roger that, coming
She can't talk right now.
No, I was just saying...
Call you back, no problem.
It was like Newcastle or something in space. So what was great, or London, you got a situation. If there's any problem on the planet that these contingents of populations are having, it's represented on Babylon 5. Same as in London. If certain religious groups Indian religious groups in London are having a problem with another religious group in India, it manifests in London. And it's all of those elements, and that was absolutely portrayed on Babylon 5. And the ambassadors and everything like that. So it was a much bigger world. But it was a city with no bathrooms. Oh, there was? I wasn't in that episode.
They were down...
I was desperate.
They were down on ground level.
Yeah, it's not exactly like you can step outside the spaceship, so.
Sir. How aware were you as actors of the backstory that was going on? Did they not want you to know that? Did you try to think of it yourself, or did you just try not to think about it? The big backstories of the whole arc of the show. Is that anywhere in your head when you were working on characters?
A lot of times in the backstories, if you knew everything, the predictability of it would read in your face. We discovered each point as we went along, and that's what made it very unique. No, we didn't know the full arc of it, and Joe wasn't going to give us the full arc.
And also, Joe, we all ate together outside of our studio, which was out in Booneyville, and Joe would, I've said this before, but Joe would sort of observe us at lunch like Diane Fossey watching The Great Apes. And we would see a couple of episodes down things that sort of happened, or at least character influences that felt individual.
Eating pasta through a rubber head, for instance, the observer.
Also, it was kind of cheating going to conventions where everyone's coming up to you and thinking you've got secrets because you didn't have any. Because you get the episodes as they happen. Like some motorcycle dispatch rider turns up at your door and you're, oh, there's a script from Babylon 5. Am I in it? And that happened to me, and that was sorry, just to mouth off about me for a second. That was, people asked me about the Modern Major General. Well, I get the script, turns up, and What, there's a CD of Pirates of Penzance and some sheet music. What the hell's this about? I got to learn this? And you've listened to Pirates of Penzance on the CD, you go, oh, wow, I can't sing that. Modern Major General, but anyway. But it was a surprise. It was always a surprise. And when I was in the 4th episode or 3rd episode that I did, and then I'm reading a script and I'm confessing that I'm a virgin. Well, thanks, Joe. Obviously, I don't get to be a lover on this ship.
Joe liked irony.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A lot of actors that work with prosthetics have a lot of side symptoms, like Michael Jordan had to get skin treatments all the time between makeup work. Did you have any problems like that? All the stuff being glued to you caused problems?
Let me take you back to the first episode. An infection. I was in a full body prosthetic from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. Every single part was designed and put on me. That's why it was so long. I had to lay in the cast when they cast my body. And I don't blame you. And when he understands the odor that builds up inside a rubber suit after so long. So being in the prosthetics, you do the body cast, and then they sculpt it around you. No, I'm not claustrophobic. But, you know, when you put in red eyes and you're walking around and people, you know, it's unique. It's just another race. No, I don't. It gets hot. I can tell you for a fact you do get hot. The suit, we did a fight, and I think somebody checked my temperature. They punched holes in the bottom of the boots that I was wearing to let the sweat run out, and then that kind of stuff. I think the temperature was 111 inside the suit. Does that answer your question? Okay. You can come back now.
Yes, in the back.
Actually, I prefer it over here.
This one's also for Marshall. I just had a chance to rewatch the entire series and notice some things I hadn't before. I don't know how. You're always one of that guy in that thing in the movies you've done. And, well, this is kind of ahead. Talon was like a Japanese garden where you go to meditate. He was just kind of beautiful. He was so serene, a fierce warrior, but very serene. I kind of wondered, did you bring some personal experience or beliefs into that, or was that just dude on actors when I get paid?
No, there was something that basically a lifetime. The sword, for instance, was fashioned off my 15th century katana. The blade was made by Chuck Staple, Master Knife Maker. The engraving was done by Michael Collins, who was just commissioned by the Queen. You know, the Narn language is written in gold. The sword is only one, just like Talon. He was a shogun. He was a samurai, excuse me, and I brought a lifetime of martial arts and that particular focus into the character of being able to control and knowing when to and when not to. So if that answers your question, thank you. Yes, please.
Speaking of the swords, since you just mentioned it, this is for everybody. Did y'all get any souvenirs or any mementos at all?
They watched us like a group of juvenile delinquents every time. I mean, even if because they had trouble getting it to stick on me, and so sometimes when it accidentally stuck, you're tired and you like, wait, come back, you're communicating. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't keep anything.
The sword is mine. There is only one.
Actually, I kept those skanky shoes from the Hollow Brothel. I'm going to sell them on eBay someday to somebody that might like feet. So.
I had my seat back, but I've since lost it, so what the heck? You know, the B5, Jason Carter, which I actually fought for. It's really strange. I was like, am I going to stay on the show? What's going on? I don't have a chair yet. When am I going to, I don't know how many episodes I was in. And then they made a big deal because I'd made a fuss about presenting me with a chair, so.
He walked around with the seat back all the time, you know, just looking for a chair to put it down on.
Pretty much. No, I don't have it.
Yeah.
I can tell you the moment that I absolutely loved your character, and it was in the episode where Garibaldi had just gone off the rails with his drinking. And Garibaldi was my favorite character. I identified with him. I was in the military. I spent time trying to get certain recipes listening to Konya Kava. And so, you know, I very much identified with his character. And when you went in there and basically handed him his head on a platter and said, now get your act together, and he finally started to, that's when I was like, okay, I will work this. Because you saved my favorite character. So.
You know what? This is maybe giving away too much, but it reflected real life too. I had just quit drinking, Bruce and I and Jerry would go to Jerry's house because Jerry was such a good cook, and this is so embarrassing. I'm flying the geek flag big time. We would sit around together and watch Galaxy Quest. No. But he was such a great cook. Because he knew I was from Texas, he would make, you know, sweet tea and ribs and just very considerate. Only he's OCD neat. I can remember going to the ladies' room and coming back, and I thought, man, that was good tea that he made. I think I'll have another. Jerry, where's my tea glass? I already washed it and put it away.
I didn't.
I took down a whole bar. Don't you remember? Bugger and I have to wait for someone to wake up. Don't you remember that? Eh? My favourite line. Do you want to start? I had to fight for the right to fight, by the way. I'm serious about that, by the way, because of insurance things and stuff like that. I'm on this shoot, and there's a fight scene scheduled, and it's Marcus fighting, but I'm not on the call sheet. It's stunt guys, because they weren't going to do it with the actors. And I actually fought for the right because I did stage combat, and I've done all that historically. And I don't want to watch two stunt guys in long shot and then cut to a close-up of one holding the other one around the throat, and then back to the long shot of some ridiculous ninja kicks and stuff like that. I want to do it, and actually John Flynn was a great champion of it as well, and he did handheld with the camera, and there's some scenes where he's actually attacking me with the camera, and I'm attacking the camera, and he's come on, and it's just brilliant, it's great fun. But I actually did all my, there's only one, and don't know what episode it was, there's one ridiculous ninja spin kick that's not me, but everything else is Marcus throughout the entire series. Aren't I proud? Yes, your turn.
I've always done my own fights. If you've ever seen from Roadhouse all the way up, I do my own fights. I've never been doubled in a fight.
I can attest to, I had the privilege of doing a movie in Spokane with Marshall and Chuck Norris. Yeah, how cool is that? And I wouldn't even be on the call sheet, and I would just kind of like mosey onto the set to watch them fight because it was like foreplay. It was great.
Foreplay, tell us more. Then what did they do?
No, it was really something to watch Marshall Teague and Chuck Norris choreograph a fight. There's, I mean, the perks of the business. And free lunch.
And with friends.
Just to finish off, there is one point that I did make a mistake, or rather I had to cover myself, is that because I didn't want any stunt guy doubling me at all, there was one scene where I had to run down the corridor and then up the wall, or the character did, up the wall and then through a hatch in the roof, which was just an opening in the roof, to escape something. So, you know, 8 foot, 10 foot high ceiling or whatever like that. I'm going to do this. No, we got a stunt guy. No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Because I knew I could. Even with the bloody cape and the ridiculous things that you wouldn't go to battle in, but never mind. And so I did it, and it was like a one-take event, as most things on television often are. And I'm running down the corridor, and I go up there, and I just scrape my chest really badly on the wood as I'm going up through the hatchway. I really hurt myself. But I couldn't let anybody know. I'm up in the roof now, just hanging on, waiting for cut, but I'm in such pain. It had gone wrong, but I'd fought for it, so I couldn't say a word. And that was recently also after... oh, my brain's not working. Wow, I hate that. I'm old, Garibaldi. Help. We were just talking about him. Him.
It's
Who
a great
played Garibaldi?
moment.
He broke his foot tripping over a stunt guy, didn't he? He broke his foot, so then the law became really ridiculously strict suddenly for actors actually moving.
Yes, sir.
Question for Walter. In your portrayal of Bester, did you set out to make him be evil, or was it more of an approach like he's superior, he's just a superior being?
What did he say? He said, did you start? Repeat the question louder, please.
Did you deliberately set him out to appear evil, or did you set out to have him be more like a superior being? It's like, I'm superior to everyone.
Did you start out this?
Yeah.
You got it.
I don't think an actor approaches a role with the idea that they are supposed to be evil. I think every actor approaches the role that their behavior, no matter how heinous according to the rules of society or whatever, is justified. Because it's the only way, unless they're totally nuts, you know, because it's you have to make the audience believe that the character is the way he is. And if he's supposed to be a flamboyantly evil character, that's hard to do unless you believe what you're doing, as I say, is justified. So if I have to kill 1,000 non-telepaths, I have a rationale and a justification to save my people, and it's never with the idea that I just want to kill people. I need to, you know, to save my people. So, you know, I don't think you can go into a part editorializing whether it's good or the character is good or not. The character is who he has to be, and you have to play him that way. So I never thought of him as being evil.
Yes.
Yeah, some of my favorite things that you've done, Walter, you did Moontrap. I really love that movie. And Tracy, I love Demonic Toys. Obviously, I love those movies. What were some of your favorite roles that you've done in your careers?
Walter.
What was the what? What was the favorite? Favorite. Probably on the stage. I did a play called Steam Bath, where I played a Puerto Rican towel attendant who was really God. And I played White House Murder Case, where I was a CIA agent who was literally falling apart on the field. I mean, literally, and to the point where I reached down between my legs at one point and say, "Hey, look what I have." I mean, truly, this was a very black comedy. But it was great fun playing. It was a terrific, and a great company, so I had a good time with that. Night Must Fall was a melodrama very dramatic melodrama that I thoroughly enjoyed because I played this. The character was rather sick and kind of evil, but again, I found the way to make it my own, and thoroughly enjoyed that. And I guess I could go on and on in terms of theater, and that probably is explains or is the answer to why I'm not talking about my favorite roles on television and movies, because they truly were, on the stage.
I would just like to say, for me, apart from obviously the sci-fi that is my first passion, Lonesome Dove, The Outlaw Years, playing opposite Eric McCormack, and because I'm playing a con artist who's trying so hard to be good, and my closest friend said that was the closest they'd ever seen me to me. So.
Yes, sir.
To break the format for a moment, Mr. Koenig.
Yes?
What's up with Star Trek Renegade?
What about it?
That's what I asked you. I found out about it online the other day.
Uh-huh. Good. I've read a recent draft. I don't know if it's the final draft. It's a recent draft. And I had I took some exception to the way the story was laid out. I think my sense was that they're trying to appeal to everybody at once. And if you're trying to appeal to a Star Trek audience, you need to go in folks, I really can't handle that. I cannot handle that. I'm the neurotic in the room who can't handle when other people are talking. So if you're appealing to Star Trek folks, you have to, there's certain canon you have to abide by. I don't mean you have to do everything exactly the way they did, but you can't have such utter mayhem and scenes that are ghoulish in quality and design that it's really going to appeal to maybe fanboys or friends, people who enjoy horror films where they saw off somebody's testicles or something. But it's not Star Trek. So although there is there's some very nice moments where there's camaraderie and there's loyalty, and you get a sense of these folks as being officers or personnel from Star Trek. There's too much, for me, of the other stuff. There's just too much out-and-out gratuitous villainy.
May I add something with you? When you have done the best, it is very difficult to reinvent the wheel.
I agree. I mean, like with Crusade, I mean, everyone was pointing the finger in different directions. It's the studio, it's the network, it's this, it's that. No, it just wasn't Babylon 5.
Yes, wasn't it about the Rangers, wasn't it? Didn't they have a Ranger in cryogenic freeze who everybody knew? I'm not suggesting anything, I'm just wondering.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Koenig for his opinion about that and preserving Gene Roddenberry's work. That's very important.
I'm sorry. I, at the tender age of 76, I'm beginning to lose my hearing. So I don't hear what everybody says. You said something about Gene Roddenberry. That's about it.
I want to thank you for standing up for not making Star Trek horror films and preserving Gene Roddenberry's work.
Okay. That was good to hear. That was well worth hearing twice.
Everybody liked that one. Yes, sir.
If each of you got one more episode, one more feature with your characters,
question.
Marcus gets laid.
Oh, harsh, Bud.
Doesn't matter which sex.
Well, I really look up to David Bowie, so as long as it's pretty.
What?
Why, do you want a part?
Personally, I would have liked to see, and it doesn't apply to the arc, especially because I was an afterthought, but I would like to see a little more interaction with Garibaldi that maybe becomes a little more friendly.
As far as Talon, I love the character. I like what he is, but the arc was complete. When he said goodbye to Jakar at the last moment, the arc was absolutely complete. I couldn't have asked for more.
Do we have to restrict it to Babylon 5? Because there's, in Star Trek there was a guy who talked like this. Well, I could see a story where he'd not be available for an episode.
Walter, he was my team captain on Battle of the Network Stars, and because I come from, a sports background, he put me in everything because he wanted to win. I mean, I thought it was just going to be a fun, let's get some sun and, have fun weekend. He wanted to win everything. And on day 2, I went up to him and I said, Captain, Mr. Shatner, Kirk, Captain, you probably don't know this, but unless you put all of the women in at least 2 events, they won't get the full pay. And he said, I know. Now, ask me if I give a shit.
Go ahead and jump, Walter. Yes, sir.
I was watching one of my favourite episodes the other day. It's the one where Marshall Teague comes on the show. Gave me a warm, fuzzy nerd feeling. How was it having her on set?
I enjoyed her company. I got to stare her down in the elevator, which gave me a lot of pleasure, as you can tell. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's the name. It's part of it. It's the carryover. It's part of the creation of all of it. So
It was just nice to see things flowing from one to the other, especially Deep Space Nine was running at the same time, and there were a lot of comparisons. I mean, I love both shows, I really do.
Yeah, which started first? On the subject, on that same subject, who had a pike that opened at both ends? First.
You did.
I know. I'm Darth Marcus.
Is there any chance of any new Babylon series coming along? Any action?
Well, I've spoken to Joe indirectly about that. I haven't been that specific. But my sense is at this juncture, he's moved on. He has several other projects that they're very viable and that I think he's going to move on to. So, there was a point after the show was canceled and after the spin-off was canceled that they were talking about, they were actually talking about a telepath war. It was one of the themes that they had. And then they did several movies in Canada, you know, abridged movies for television with different stories. But that was very tough going, and I didn't see any of them, but I was told that they weren't as...
You dodged a bullet.
What?
Said you dodged a bullet.
Yeah, that's what I was going. Well, thank you. You saved me the having to say that. But I think that everybody felt that they didn't go as well as they might have, but they didn't achieve their potential. And I think maybe he soured on the fact that he wasn't getting the cooperation. He, being Joe, soured on the fact that he wasn't getting the cooperation from the studio, and that. It'd be best that he has a million stories to tell. He's an extraordinary. I mean, this guy works literally, I'm not exaggerating, 18, 19 hours a day. He's thinking about and writing shows. So there's a plethora of material that he has available. And I think he realized that the way he was going was not going to be fruitful. I mean, it was going to be futile in the end. It was going to be fruitful.
I think that's a no, okay? Yes.
What are y'all's future plans? Have anything going on?
I just finished a movie called Borrowed Moments, where I play a neurotic mother who wants her daughter to have... I say, your clock's ticking, and she's like 19. So it was fun for me because I don't normally play those sort of more mainstream characters. So it was a nice change of, you know, cutting off people's heads and things.
I'm available.
Are there any more questions? One more.
The question was, we had a lot of props. Were there any that were very frustrating? May I? Okay, two quickies. I would always go, walk here, but I would always forget to toggle off. So like every department, electric, grip, craft service, camera, they'd all go, toggle. Lock layout. And that was a big problem for me. And I would have fans come up to me and say, you were on the bridge in episode 511 and you pressed the wrong button. And I would go, dude, it's a piece of plastic painted silver, okay? But instead, I would say, good catch, carry on, soldier. We were having circuitry problems that week. And,
The question was, do we ever have any embarrassing moments that we lose our composure or something of that nature? No, not at all. What was the question?
whatever you want it to be.
Do you have trouble? Have there been any props that you've had that have been troublesome?
Oh, that was just the same thing. No,
well, your only prop's a sword. I mean, how wrong can it be?
I can't think of anything.
One more question. Yes, sir.
I'd like to hear answer to Walter's question you just made up about.
Good.
No. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all
I
coming.
have an embarrassing moment. My first
Here you
day on
go.
the set, okay.
Thank you for sharing.
I had memorized my lines, everybody's lines, the stage directions, the map quest, everything. And I was trying so hard to be good because it was so important to me. And I was leaning against a wall while they were shooting in a hallway. And I was sort of barely leaning against a wall, going over my lines for the 10,000th time. And suddenly they're filming. and I lean against the wall, and it gives way, and I fall into the shot. And I'm like, I'm okay, and they're like, we don't care.
Okay, it is 3 o'clock, and we have. I, in fact, have to leave for the airplane.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody else. So it's time to say adieu, is it not?
Thank you all.
Did anybody lose this?
Guys, 1 second, please. They do need to leave. I'm going to make it fast. I don't know if you saw our announcement yesterday. Space City Con Winter was announced yesterday. January the 3rd through 5th, it's coming up. I'm not putting these guys on the spot, but I consider them all friends. I have invited them and more of the Babylon 5 cast here to Houston. And they're busy people. So like I said, if we can do it, we're going to put as much cast together in January as we can. So we have a Babylon 5 turns legal, turns 21 next year. Okay?
Thank you all.